Hello and welcome to the Game Soup podcast with Chloe and Kayla. This is a game design podcast where we throw ideas in a pot and see what's cooking. How are you doing, Chloe?
I'm good. I've had a yum yum, which I'm not sure what that translates to for our American viewers. Um,
Yum Yum. I don't know how widespread that is. That does sound like a sort of cutesy British name.
yeah, it sounds like a fake name for someone. Like I thought it was a cruller or a cooler or whatever, but I've googled that and it's not the same thing. It's like a long straight donut
Long and straight.
and donut. Yeah.
Mm.
Do you not agree with me? If that's not a good description.
No, it makes sense. But yeah, I can't necessarily. I also then decided to search this live on air, and I'm also getting a thing. I think they just maybe don't even have those kind of things in America.
Damn, you're missing out, guys.
It's like not a churro though, which is what your mind might come to if you're thinking long fin donut.
Yeah, it's soft. It's not hard. It's not fried.
Yeah.
Anyway. Please ignore my Pepsi can falling on the floor. It's Game Soup. It's a game design podcast. We do game design on this podcast, and we had things to talk about. Kayla, you wanted to talk about Asphodel.
Yeah, I was going to say where was I last, and I remembered I got a bit into an update on an episode that ended up completely lost before
Yeah.
I changed over my internet. So I think where I last was for podcast listeners was I'd been trying to draft a version that was focusing on like a more traditional season, and you had kind of like a week structure in between that. And I was finding trying to write this incredibly sluggish because it was a game I could see only breathing and really like getting across what it wanted to do over a long campaign, which because those aren't the things I play, made me feel very unenthused about working on it. So I was like, I don't know who I'm making this game for if I'm not even really making it for me.
I get that.
Yeah. But I had a breakthrough sort of that led me to changing kind of like even the setup of the game slightly. I think it was way back when they did the drafting for the group stage for the World Cup, that uncomplicatedly sporting event that everyone is just happy about.
And everyone loves it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the World Cup's fucked. But it made me think about group stage football because that's also how stuff like the Champions League works and Euros. And I was like, oh, it's not how a main league works, but could this game work more if I was going with something more a cup than a league? Which I thought of the phrase the Underworld Cup, which has a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, yeah, if you have a group stage where you have 3 matches against the other people in your group, and then you progress to like the knockout quarterfinals, and there's like, that's a game I can imagine where you are playing 6 matches. And I think that means we pull back away from that like the week by week thing, and it's more you're getting like 2 scenes between each match. I think this does move the game more into you are playing as the players rather than the coach. I think like the GM probably has a coach figure who they're allowed to use to sort of like prod characters and suggest.
I can say that, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that works, but what... And then I'd thought of those changes, written up some ideas around that, and then for most of this month, I'd more been working on Mechrider, A Fistful of Stars, and like because it's further along, I've been doing some like layout pieces for the Gallant and the Virtuous. Like I now have a preview of that up on my Patreon, not of the actual layout, which I have now like just been tinkering around with on weekends, but just like the last text of the game. But while I was going to sleep, I don't know, one night, I had an idea that I think messaged you, and that's why I wanted to do it. Because I was thinking a bit about the Gallant and the Virtuous and the way the scenes work in that, because they work quite well. But there it's like your characters you're mainly sort of like talking in character, having these conversations, and depending on things that happen in the scene, you're marking a tally for doom or fortune, and that determines what happens to your character at the end. So while the similar sort of like scene focus could work for Asphodel FC. Like the lack of like it's not all building up to something at the end. So the kind of hook of like beyond playing your characters, what is being done in the scene couldn't translate in the same way. And yeah, then the idea I messaged you was maybe it's a can't exactly remember how I phrased it, but the idea I was also having was within an individual scene, if like there is essentially an almost like split of choices that the GM is posing to any character, they could draw or even select some major arcana, which in the match phase give you different like abilities basically, and like lock them behind each choice. If it's like someone is being, say, really dismissive of your character at like an event you're supposed to stay at, maybe it's like the GM draws 3 cards and goes like, okay, yeah, you can get the world if you stay at this event and don't start anything with this guy, or you can get the devil if you make a fight out of this right now. You could get the lovers if you instead leave the party, which will have like other kind of consequences, but you avoid making this like. Does that sort of make sense? What
No, I
I'm
get it, and it's
proposing
sort
there?
of like you have to. I mean, is it like no? Yeah, I mean, you have to specifically roleplay how you want to get the benefit that you want.
Yeah, or to some extent, it's even like maybe an incentive to go against what would be a natural instinct, just to make a choice more difficult.
Yeah,
Beyond making the choice, like what would my character do in this sentence, is also like, oh, okay, I'm being told if I do this worst thing. Maybe with some options is like, if you do this, you don't get a major arcana from this scene. Um,
yeah,
but you can do these major arcana by doing the things that are less satisfying, but are maybe smarter or whatever. I need to like tinker more, think about what those choices are, kind of build up what are the scenes that are being played out. Because I think it's you're probably going to be in Elysium for this time, because that will probably be where the Underworld Cup is taking place. And so some scenes are going to be around like training, others are going to more be about like hotel stuff. I think maybe there's an aspect where if it's 2 scenes between each match, maybe like the GM selects one that's a sort of obligation, and then the players are getting to say, oh, but we also want to do this, and that's the other scene.
yeah. And maybe in the book it has like, oh, here's a handful of options. Offer your players 3 of the rewards, but they can go anywhere they want with the scene.
Yeah, I think it's the thing, like, it never. The card options are never telling you, like, you can't do a thing.
Yeah,
It's more saying how what you're doing, it lets that have an impact in the game. Because I think that like that gives you the card for the match. I don't know if it's just a case of you get 2 scenes and what happens in those 2 determines the 2 cards you have in that next match, or whether it's more like a almost like a deck builder thing, where it's like across the tournament you're getting a
yeah.
selection of cards from all your scenes, and you're choosing before the match which 2 you're going to activate.
I kind of like that, but it probably slows down the game a lot, like the deck building between each game.
Uh, I'm not sure it slows down the deck that much. It's like you're gradually building a hand, and then you pick 2 cards from that hand.
I suppose, yeah.
Like
Um,
it's
I was going to say you should do some testing between explicitly telling the players, oh, these are what, if you do this, you get this reward, and like not telling them, or like showing what the possible rewards are, but not telling them how to get those. And it's like you have to work out in the scene which the tarot would fit the response, as it were.
yeah, that could be interesting, but I think that could also be a thing that could grind the game down
Yeah.
if it would require everyone kind of having a decent enough grounding in what all the major arcana mean to figure that out, and then it's also like, oh, kind of having a good sense of your GM's
Yeah, it
thought
adds a bit more
patterns.
puzzliness to it, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, there's maybe something I could maybe see almost in like some kind of like solo way where you're where like cards are you're told a puzzle, told what cards are on offer, and the next page tells you which one it does after that. But I think as a group thing, it would maybe slow it down more into the sort of
Yeah.
metagaming side. I don't know. I think that could be the current missing piece of the puzzle. The current missing piece is like how do the role play heavy scenes matter for the matches? Because if they do, and if that would work, and if I could come up with some scene things, and then like, oh, I then could figure out more of this game. I think I said on the Lost episode, I realized to make this game smaller, I need to write lots more.
Yeah, you got to get up to 150% and then cut it down.
Oh, I don't even mean that. I mean to make the game play smaller. The
Oh,
book
yeah,
needs
yeah,
to
yeah.
have more set answers in different things. I think a lot of the scene prompts need to end up telling you a lot about different parts of Elysium. And I think originally I had the idea more that was going to be more focused on like what I lost that train of thought because my laptop closed down. Where was I?
About having to build the book up.
Oh yeah, originally my idea was going to be like, oh, that's probably kind of like I'm just saying the underworld and giving you names of gods and stuff, but like what this underworld looks like is maybe more collaborative. Whereas now I'm maybe like, no, maybe I should write more a specific
Yeah, you've got to do explicit
idiosyncratic
world
version
building.
of
Yeah.
um and make that part of the book so it can be quicker. Because I think like this game might still not be playable in a one shot, but it could probably be like a satisfying 2 or 3 shot, and that's fine because I can play those kind of games.
Yeah.
I reckon Asphodel FC comes out sometime this year. I just could see that sometime being very late in the end.
Yeah. Look forward to it at Dragon Meet.
Yeah, who knows? Or maybe it goes to like crowdfunding. I mean, I don't know how I feel about doing crowdfunding solo at the moment. It depends on other stuff. I think that's like my latest update and thought patterns
Yeah.
for Asphodel FC. Have you been working on anything?
Honestly, no. Kind of tinkering away with the finishing up the layout for Bitter Cold. Done some cube design for Magic the Gathering, which is game design in itself. But
Yeah.
not really. I mean, it's like so cube in Magic the Gathering is taking a bunch of cards and making your own contained set of cards, and then you like do drafts and whatever else with those cards.
Mm.
So we had making a cube which is just normal people, so like no dragons or heroic heroes. It's all just like the shopkeeper and the tavern owner and that sort of stuff. One of my friends
Nice.
jokingly called it the NPC cube, and it's like, yeah, that kind of puts across the idea of it.
That's so you've been having fun with that.
Yeah. We're tinking around. We've started putting down archetypes for each of the colours, so we're getting there. I have a big pile of cardboard next to me. That is the cube. So
The cube holds all and sees all secrets. So that's what we've been working on. Do we want to go to our random ingredients cupboard?
yeah, probably. Where is it? Right. My word is writer.
Writer. I had the genre first of vampire, but I feel that in combination immediately prompts to a journaling vampire game, which has been done.
No, okay, let's not do 100-year-old vampire.
Oh wait, writer, but writer can be lots of different things. I feel like then my mind is immediately going to. I think it's because my housemate has been doing a BoJack Horseman rewatch. I was like, "You're a television writer who is a vampire."
Oh, I'm going to say a ghostwriter for a vampire's memoirs, but that's just
Ooh,
fascinating
ghost
vampire again,
writers.
but-
Vampire memoir ghostwriter is fun. Hollywood screenwriter vampire, I think, also has its own interesting angles because of immortality. I mean, the difficulty of writer is it obviously is immediately driving us towards solo games, even just because it's like a single word. What do we think? How can we combine this in a way that is a multiplayer game?
Yeah. I mean, we already did True Blood stuff last week, so we can't go back to that well too quickly. Um, I'm thinking you and the table are the writers' room for vampire sitcom in production, working title to be discovered, TBA.
Yeah, I've just had an idea similar writers room 4, but I don't think it's a vampire sitcom. I think
Yeah,
maybe you're a writers room for like a long running show, which for some reason my mind is going to SNL, even though I've never watched SNL, being
yeah.
British and
I've watched 30 of them.
I've
It's
seen
the same thing.
sketches.
Yeah,
And there's like the idea of like, oh, and it's ran by a vampire. It's ran by a person who maybe you think is a vampire. Maybe that doesn't entirely get confirmed.
yeah. They've been there since the 60s and they look like a fossil, but it's like, yeah, that's just what guys looked like back then. um,
Or yeah, my mind. For now, that's made me think of the People's Joker.
I've still not seen it. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, you got. It was my. I did at the end of last year on Blue Sky. I did like a list of like random favorites, and while Sinners was my film of the year, my favorite film I saw last year that didn't come out that year, I went with People's Joker. I went for it over TV Glow.
So, what's your idea then with Joker?
Well, there is a similar thing of like there's an SNL riff on there, and the Lorne Michaels analog there is kind of a villainous figure. So like yeah, maybe it is like a long running TV show that we don't like.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of giving C Issue X by I can't remember their name, but it's about like slowly building up like a whole superhero universe. I think we do that, but it's for like a supernatural show, like Monster of the Week stuff, and we build up the mythos of that. And you're dropped into season 15 of that.
Oh god. I think actually yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah, maybe. Some angle of yeah, building and then being dropped into a post Shark Jump era show.
Yeah. And you've got to come up with a bunch of episodes that aren't done. And I think in the book we include like a series bible of like, here are 100 ideas you can't use. And yeah, you've got like a roll table for like, oh, and our season arc for Sam Witwicky this year is that he's now a girl. And so you've got to write that into the B plots of each episode, while also having the Chupacabra, who of course we know is from Canada.
I feel like a fun way of doing this as a book, because the actual game of this sounds very small. I am just going to throw it out there.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder if the book is would have a lot about a fake TV show and a fake fandom for that, and have kind of like fake characters there. I think it would be a game combined with a thing that is half not a game, really, in the book.
Yeah.
A sort of you will die in this place-esque thing. That also, just because I mentioned it, probably has some like TV Glow stuff about like shows and things. I feel like we've mentioned Supernatural. Did you ever watch Supernatural?
I keep meaning to watch it, but it's like,
Really?
yeah, I like Monster of the Week stuff. I tried to get it at Smallville like a month ago, and it's kind of boring. But
I feel I could never willingly choose to get into a show that ran for 10 seasons because I'm like, unless for some reason I'd heard, by a miracle, it never took a massive nosedive.
I mean, you watch Doctor Who.
That's true, but I have never tried to get into Doctor Who from the start.
Well,
Also, fundamental, this is the thing with watching Doctor Who, is I'm like, but I'm aware that the reason I watch Doctor Who is because I watched Doctor Who when I was a kid, and so as such have a sentimental attachment to it. I know on my heart it's not a show I'd get into as an adult if I didn't have that link and hook.
Well, yeah, it's like Buffy or whatever, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there's
Like I can
one,
see the appeal of the shows, to be fair. I just this is more about getting into shows which I know of maybe like eventually go whack. I watched Smallville when it was coming out. Parts of it.
damn,
Middle parts of it. Like not quite at its shittest, but definitely not great.
past its best, yeah. Uh,
um
I think we've got to let this game get away from us. I don't think we found a game here.
I think we found ideas of a game, but I don't think one that interests either of us enough to see the shape of it more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do we want to do another random to take us out?
Yeah, I've got condition.
I've actually scrolled through a lot to see ones that didn't lead to obvious directions because there were things like paranoid thriller, which I'm like, okay, that's. I feel like I'm trying to go to a way that isn't like you have a condition and you don't know what it is and you're trying to figure it out. Because I'm not sure if there's much there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we could do something like, you ever see the film Smile, where people get cursed to see people smiling?
No, but I know of the film. Maybe it's also like an It Follows kind of thing is giving me that vibe or a Final Destination.
Yeah,
Or
so
is it conditions an interesting thing word to have in a game sense? Because like so many games are defined by
yeah.
conditions.
I think, yeah, the setup of the game is you get cursed with something, and then everything's out to kill you. Like, yeah, the Grim Reaper's decided, right, I've had enough of you. The world's going to kill you. It's a Final Destination riff, but
Do you have to ask before we get too deep down a riff of a film? Have you seen any Final Destination films?
no.
Okay, I haven't either. Let's not do a Final Destination riff. We can find something more sort of stable here. Can you give us another word to go with condition? And then I can find
Resist.
a genre. Condition resist. These kind of feel like the same thing. Not the same thing, but they're not. Nothing's really twisting us. I got one that was Fable.
Yeah, okay, it's fairy tale stuff. You have been cursed, and you have to go on a big quest to, find the MacGuffinite that saves you. But, and then you come in with the but.
Oh right, I thought you had some more idea. It's the thing where I'm almost now gonna look up like meanings of condition. If there's another kind of meaning that I am thinking of something, rather than someone having a condition. Oh, actually, that's a thing of like making sure something is in working condition.
Yeah, okay.
I guess this is me. Well, my mind briefly went to like, oh, are you maybe like fairies? The fairies in a fairy tale who are having to sort of keep things in.
Okay, you are the fairies
Mm.
who are cursing people, maybe.
No, actually, I'm now thinking. For some reason, my mind went to Sleeping Beauty. Where isn't that, or maybe confusing it with another one, where there's like kind of counter curse, like the evil queen does a curse, and then also like the fairies do a blessing to kind of like.
It's one of them. I don't know.
Maybe actually now maybe this is an idea. Maybe it is a fairy tale game with one player and dueling GMs.
Okay.
Like, and the GMs are like actually quite restricted. They have access to GM moves that are either maybe working on like which work on a sort of mechanic, which is to some extent conditional. Like it can't just be like I'm doing this. It's either having to spend tokens or it's maybe having to roll with it. And one of you is as essentially gets to be like the curse fairy, whereas the other of you is the blessing fairy.
And what are you trying to do?
I mean, I assume it's some kind of standard bullshit fairy tale quest. I think the starting point of the game should be quite simple
Yeah,
because
you
I
are.
think it will get very complicated by the GMs countering each other.
Yeah,
So
you are
I'm almost
hero
as
going
a
to save princess from tower. That's your
yeah,
setup.
or you are princess. You're like a red. It can be a Red Riding Hood riff,
Yeah.
or a princess riff or something. It starts as a simple riff because I think the have you do you know how Odd Folk by Max Lander works?
No.
So I've seen like just sort of the simple mechanics, like you're a D4 system, and the moves have sort of like complications or things that happen. Four of them, and how many the number you roll determines how many of those things are happening.
Right.
So I'm almost like, oh, maybe there's something like that, like moves which have like the moves are more broad categories within like offense, and you are rolling on a table to see how many of like the specific manifestations you can get. Maybe it's actually maybe it's a Wizard of Oz. That kind of works well because that's got a wicked witch and a good witch.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And the witches have actual characters in the story who can interact with the protagonist. I kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like one player gets to be a Dorothy. I think like this can just work as free players, where it's like two GMs and one player.
Yeah.
I also think this could work with more if you then choose to have other people play the supporting characters. I almost wonder if more like the main GM is more the Dorothy player who can also play some of the supporting characters and other stuff, and maybe the witches are more player restricted. I don't know. This one, I'm going to throw it out there. I think we finally landed on an idea with this prompt that I could see being fun. I think, and I'd admit, we're very far from our prompt.
Yeah.
I think that's a fun angle with we. I'd enjoy the thing of doing a quite like straightforward Wizard of Oz, where like the Wicked Witch is just outright wicked after wicked. Like I enjoy doing the more like straightforward version after a very famously sympathetic version comes out.
Yeah.
But also, I do think the dueling GMs can be a bit gay with it if they want.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Those fairies are kissing afterwards.
Yeah. We said fairies for a reason, didn't we?
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Game Soup.